Hey guys, tonight we're strolling through the narrow, lantern-lit streets of Edo, Japan, where the air carries the faint scent of soy sauce and wood smoke, and the night feels alive with soft rustling from wooden homes. You're in the early 1600s, surrounded by a city buzzing with samurai, merchants, and artisans, but there's a hush when the moon hides its face. Candle makers, those unsung heroes of light, dread moonless nights more than a tax collector's visit. Without that silvery glow, their craft and their livelihoods hang by a flickering wick. Fair warning, you'd probably trip over your own kimono trying to navigate this place without a flashlight. So, before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. Drop a comment with your city and local time. I'm curious where you're dozing off tonight. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum, and let's ease into tonight's journey together. You're wandering down a cobblestone path, the clack of geta sandals echoing faintly as you pass a workshop where candle makers toil. The walls are paper thin, letting in the cool night air, and you catch the warm, waxy smell wafting out. These artisans, hunched over their tables, shape beeswax and plant oils into slender candles, their hands steady despite the dim light from a single lantern. Historians note that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 era, candles were a lifeline, lighting homes, temples, and streets when oil lamps were scarce. You smirk, imagining trying to sell these to your boss as a sustainable lighting solution. They'd laugh you out of the meeting faster than you can say power outage. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some candle makers believed moonless nights brought bad spirits, so they'd hum old Shinto tunes to ward them off. Think karaoke for ghosts. You chuckle, picturing a maker belting out a tune while dripping wax, hoping the spirits don't critique his pitch. The night's quiet, save for the occasional creak of a sliding door, and you're starting to get why this feels so calming. It's not just work, it's a dance with darkness. Historians still argue whether their fear was practical, less light to work by, or tied to superstition. You don't care much. You're too busy watching the lanterns flicker, feeling the night's weight, wondering what makes those moonless nights so feared. You're still wandering through the lantern-lit streets of Edo, Japan, the night air cool and tinged with the scent of soy sauce and cedar wood, the soft glow guiding your steps past those candlemaker workshops. The flicker of their lanterns dances on the paper walls, and your mind's drifting from the moonless dread to the daytime hustle where these artisans shape their craft. You can almost hear the hum of their voices as they work, a rhythm that feels oddly soothing. You smirk, imagining yourself trying to mold wax with sticky fingers. Your candles would look more like melted dumplings than anything useful, and you'd probably set your kimono on fire trying to impress the neighbors. Historians tell us that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 period, candle makers spent their days in small workshops, crafting wax from bees, sumac, or whale oil into slender, practical lights. You're picturing a maker now, his hands deftly rolling wax around a cotton wick, the room filled with the warm, honeyed smell of beeswax. These candles weren't just pretty, they were essential, lighting homes when the sun dipped and oil was too pricey for most. You're watching through the open door, the sunlight streaming in, and it's calming, like watching a slow-motion art project you'll never master. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some makers added a dash of camellia oil to their wax, claiming it made the flames dance like geisha moves. Talk about a fiery performance. You chuckle, imagining a candle twirling on the table, bowing to applause. The workshop's quiet, save for the soft scrape of tools, and you're starting to get why this feels so peaceful. It's not just labor. It's a craft that turns daylight into something tangible. Historians still argue whether these daytime efforts were purely for profit or a point of pride among artisans. You don't care much. You're too busy soaking in the waxy warmth, wondering how it all changes when the moon vanishes. You're still lingering near those Edo Japan workshops, the daylight fading as the scent of beeswax and camellia oil lingers in the air, the soft clatter of tools giving way to the evening's hush. The lantern light grows brighter as you move closer, your mind drifting from the candle maker's daytime craft to the role moonlight played in their world. You can feel the cool night breeze sneaking through the paper walls, carrying a hint of pine from nearby forests. You smirk, imagining trying to work by moonlight with your modern nightlight addiction. You'd probably trip over a bucket and blame the moon for not shining brighter. Historians note that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 era, moonlight was a natural ally for candle makers, illuminating their late-night tasks when oil lamps were too costly. You're picturing a maker now, his silhouette against the window, shaping wicks under a silver glow that seeps through the shutters. On clear nights, the moon's light let them stretch their hours, checking wax consistency or trimming wicks without wasting their own candles. You're watching the sky now, the moon's faint outline soothing like a free spotlight for their craft. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some believed the moon's phases affected wax quality, so they'd only pour during a full moon, calling it lunar magic. Imagine a maker dancing under the moonlight to bless the batch. You chuckle, picturing him waltzing with a candle mold, hoping the spirits approve. The night's quiet, save for the occasional creak of wood, and you're starting to get why this feels so calming. It's not just light, it's a rhythm tied to the sky. Historians still argue whether moonlight was a practical necessity or a cultural ritual for these artisans. You don't care much. You're too busy feeling the night's pull, wondering why its absence spooked them so. You're still standing near those Edo Japan workshops, the night deepening as the moon's faint glow fades from the sky, leaving the air cool and heavy with the scent of pine and wax. The lantern light flickers weakly through the paper walls, and your mind shifts from moonlight's gentle aid to the candle maker's growing unease when it vanishes completely. You can hear the soft shuffle of feet inside, a nervous energy creeping in. You smirk, imagining yourself panicking over a power outage. Your phone flashlight would die in 10 minutes, and you'd be whining louder than a cat in a rainstorm. Historians say that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 period, moonless nights were a candle maker's nightmare, plunging their work into near darkness when demand peaked. You're picturing a maker now, squinting at a half-formed candle, the lack of light making every flaw stand out. Without the moon, they struggled to inspect wax or trim wicks, risking subpar goods that could ruin their reputation. The night feels heavier, the silence broken only by a distant temple bell, and it's oddly soothing, like a quiet challenge they faced head-on. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some makers lit extra candles on moonless nights, not for work, but to scare off the dark spirits they blamed for bad luck. Talk about a pricey ghost repellent. You chuckle, imagining a workshop glowing like a firefly convention, spirits fleeing in confusion. The air is still, save for the faint rustle of leaves, and you're starting to get why this feels so calming. It's not just fear, it's a battle against the void. Historians still argue whether this dread was about practical limits or deep-seated superstition. You don't care much. You're too busy sensing the tension, wondering what mishaps lurked in that blackness. You're still near those Edo Japan workshops, the night air thick with the scent of pine and wax, the moonless darkness pressing against the fragile lantern light filtering through the paper walls. The candle maker's unease hums in the silence, and your mind drifts to the secrets of their craft, wicks and wax blends that kept their flames alive despite the dark. You can hear the faint crackle of a wick being tested, a sound that feels oddly comforting. You smirk, imagining trying to make a candle with a YouTube tutorial. Your first attempt would probably end up as a gooey mess, and you'd blame the internet for bad lighting. Historians note that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 era, candle makers perfected wicks from cotton or rush, soaked in saltpeter to burn steadily, paired with wax from bees, sumac, or whale oil. You're picturing a maker now, his fingers deftly twisting a wick, blending waxes to control the flame's brightness on those dreaded moonless nights. These blends weren't just practical, they were an art, ensuring light when the sky offered none. You're watching the glow of a test candle, its steady flame soothing, like a tiny rebellion against the dark. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some added a pinch of powdered incense to the wax, hoping the scent would please the gods and keep the flame strong. Imagine a candle doubling as air freshener. You chuckle, picturing a maker sniffing his work, nodding like a perfumer. The night's quiet, save for the soft drip of wax, and you're starting to get why this feels so calming. It's not just technique, it's a lifeline woven into every strand. Historians still argue whether these innovations were driven by necessity or a desire to outshine rivals. You don't care much. You're too busy feeling the warmth, wondering how they held up under pressure. You're still lingering by those Edo Japan workshops. The night air cool and laced with the scent of pine and melted wax. The moonless dark pressing against the faint glow of lantern light, seeping through the paper walls. The candle maker's steady hands with wicks and wax blends linger in your mind, but now you're drawn to the frantic pace inside as they rush to fill temple orders under this oppressive blackness. You can hear the soft shuffle of feet and the clink of tools, a rhythm that feels almost urgent. You smirk, imagining yourself racing to deliver candles. Your delivery would be a sweaty mess, and you'd probably drop half the batch tripping over your own sandals. Historians tell us that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 era, temples demanded candles for rituals, especially on moonless nights when spiritual activity peaked. You're picturing a maker now, his brow furrowed as he packs slender candles into bamboo crates, destined for a nearby shrine where priests chant under dim light. These orders were sacred deadlines, forcing artisans to work late without the moon's aid, relying on their own flickering flames. You're watching through the window, the soft glow of their work soothing, like a quiet dedication to something bigger. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some makers left tiny blessings, folded paper prayers, inside candle packages, hoping the gods would overlook a rushed job. You chuckle, imagining a priest unwrapping a candle to find a note saying, "Sorry, worked overtime." The night's still, save for the occasional creak of wood, and you're starting to get why this feels so calming. It's not just work, it's a pact with the divine. Historians still argue whether these temple orders drove innovation or just added stress. You don't care much. You're too busy feeling the tension, wondering how they managed the dark rush. You're still near those Edo Japan workshops. The night air thick with the scent of pine and wax. The moonless darkness swallowing the faint lantern light seeping through the paper walls. The candlemaker's frantic temple orders echo in your mind, but now you're curious about the science behind those flickering flames that kept them going. You can hear the soft hiss of a wick burning, a sound that feels oddly hypnotic. You smirk, imagining explaining this to a science teacher. Your pitch would be, "It's magic with a matchstick," and they'd send you to detention for lack of equations. Historians and scholars note that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 era, candle makers relied on the physics of combustion to light their world, even on moonless nights. You're picturing the flame now, its heat vaporizing wax into a gas that ignites with the wick's oxygen, creating a steady glow. The size of the wick and wax blend controlled the burn. Too thick and it smoked, too thin and it died. You're watching a candle flicker, its light dancing on the walls, and it's soothing like a tiny lesson in nature's balance. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some makers believed a perfectly round flame meant good fortune, so they'd adjust wicks mid-burn like fortune tellers reading tea leaves. You chuckle, imagining a maker squinting, saying, "This flame's too oval, bad luck incoming." The night's quiet, save for the faint crackle of fire, and you're starting to get why this feels so calming. It's not just light, it's a dance of elements. Historians still argue whether they understood this science intuitively or stumbled into it by trial and error. You don't care much. You're too busy feeling the warmth, wondering how it held back the dark. You're still near those Edo Japan workshops, the night air cool and heavy with the scent of pine and burning wax, the moonless darkness pressing against the soft glow of lantern light filtering through the paper walls. The science of those flickering flames lingers in your mind, but now you're drawn to the bustling markets where candles lit the way, even on the blackest nights. You can hear the distant hum of voices and the clatter of wooden stalls, a lively contrast to the quiet workshops. You smirk, imagining yourself haggling with a merchant. Your bargaining skills would collapse faster than a cheap lantern in a storm. Historians say that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 era, markets thrived under candlelight, especially on moonless nights when traders needed light to showcase goods like silk or sake. You're picturing a stall now, its wooden frame aglow with handmade candles, casting warm light on piles of wares as merchants call out to passers-by. These candles weren't just tools, they were the heartbeat of commerce, keeping trade alive when the sky offered no help. You're watching the markets glow, the soft flicker soothing, like a beacon in the night's embrace. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some merchants hung candles with tiny paper lanterns, claiming the combo attracted customers like moths. Talk about a glowing sales pitch. You chuckle, imagining a trader waving a candle, yelling, "Step right up, moths included." The night's alive with soft murmurs, and you're starting to get why this feels so calming. It's not just business, it's a community lit by wax. Historians still argue whether markets drove candle demand or if makers pushed sales to survive. You don't care much. You're too busy soaking in the warmth, wondering how it shaped their nights. You're still near those Edo Japan markets, the night air warm and tinged with the scent of pine, wax, and a hint of grilled fish from a nearby stall. The moonless darkness softened by the glow of countless candles. The hum of trade lingers in your ears, but your mind shifts to the samurai patrolling these streets, their shadows flickering under candlelight on those dark nights. You can hear the soft clink of their armor, a steady rhythm against the market's buzz. You smirk, imagining yourself as a samurai. Your sword skills would be a disaster, and you'd probably trip over your own katana trying to look cool. Historians note that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 era, samurai relied on candlelight for night patrols, especially when the moon hid, ensuring order in a city of 1,000,000 souls. You're picturing one now, his silhouette moving past the stall, a candle held high to spot troublemakers or lost travelers. These warriors, symbols of discipline, depended on the steady glow to navigate alleys, their honor tied to keeping the peace. You're watching the candle's light dance on his armor, and it's soothing, like a quiet guardian in the dark. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some samurai carried emergency candles, blessed by Shinto priests, believing they'd ward off bandits. Imagine a warrior waving a holy candle like a magic wand. You chuckle, picturing him chanting at a thief. "Back, you fiend!" The night's alive with soft footsteps, and you're starting to get why this feels so calming. It's not just duty. It's a light that holds the night at bay. Historians still argue whether samurai preferred candles for practicality or as a status symbol. You don't care much. You're too busy feeling the tension, wondering how they face the dark. You're still near those Edo Japan streets, the night air cool and laced with the scent of pine, wax, and the faint metallic tang of samurai armor. The moonless darkness pierced by the soft glow of candles lining the paths. The clink of their patrols fades into the distance, but your mind turns to the mishaps that plagued those black nights, stories whispered among the candle makers with a shiver. You can hear the occasional rustle of leaves, a nervous edge to the silence. You smirk, imagining yourself fumbling in the dark. Your clumsy spill would probably start a rumor of a ghost knocking over lanterns. Historians recount that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 era, moonless nights brought accidents to candlemakers, from spilled wax to botched wicks, threatening their livelihoods. You're picturing a maker now, his hands slipping as he pours wax in the dim light, a puddle forming on the floor as he curses under his breath. Fires were a rare but feared risk, with one stray spark turning a workshop into a blaze. You're watching the shadows flicker, the soft glow soothing despite the tension, like a fragile shield against chaos. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some blamed mishaps on kappa, water spirits, sneaking into workshops to sabotage candles, so makers left offerings of cucumber to appease them. You chuckle, imagining a maker sliding a veggie toward the door, muttering, Take that and leave my wax alone. The night's quiet, save for a distant dog bark, and you're starting to get why this feels so calming. It's not just mistakes, it's a tale of resilience. Historians still argue whether these incidents were due to poor light or exaggerated folklore. You don't care much. You're too busy feeling the night's weight, wondering how they cope. You're still near those Edo Japan workshops, the night air thick with the scent of pine and spilled wax, the moonless darkness pressing against the faint candlelight seeping through the paper walls. The tales of mishaps linger in your mind, but now you're drawn to the clever tweaks candlemakers devised to brighten those black nights, turning fear into innovation. You can hear the soft scrape of a knife trimming a wick, a sound that feels almost hopeful. You smirk, imagining yourself as an inventor. Your genius idea would be a candle with a built-in snack compartment, and you'd burn the house down trying to eat it. Historians note that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 era, candlemakers experimented with wax innovations to combat moonless challenges, blending oils like camellia, or adding charcoal for a steadier flame. You're picturing a maker now, his hands carefully mixing a batch, the result burning brighter and longer than before. These tweaks weren't just practical, they were a lifeline, letting artisans work and temples glow when the sky offered no aid. You're watching a candle flare, its light soothing, like a small victory over the dark. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some added a hint of sake to the wax, claiming it made the flame livelier. Imagine a tipsy candle stumbling through the night. You chuckle, picturing a maker toasting his creation with a cup. The night's quiet, save for the faint crackle of fire, and you're starting to get why this feels so calming. It's not just craft, it's a spark of ingenuity. Historians still argue whether these changes were born of necessity or a competitive edge. You don't care much. You're too busy feeling the warmth, wondering how it shaped their craft. You're still near those Edo Japan workshops, the night air cool and rich with the scent of pine and freshly blended wax, the moonless darkness softened by the brighter flames of their latest innovations. The hum of their ingenuity lingers, but now your mind turns to the guarded secrets of the candle-making guilds, a hidden world within these paper-walled rooms. You can hear the soft murmur of voices, a secretive undertone to the night's quiet. You smirk, imagining yourself as a guild spy. Your cover would be blown the moment you tripped over a wax bucket, spilling trade secrets everywhere. Historians reveal that during Edo Japan's 1603 to 1868 era, candle-making guilds hoarded techniques like prized treasures, passing down wax blends and wick methods only to trusted apprentices. You're picturing a master now, his face stern as he whispers instructions, the room lit by a single candle casting long shadows. These secrets ensured quality and kept rivals at bay, especially on moonless nights when precision mattered most. You're watching the flicker of light, its warmth soothing, like a guarded flame of knowledge. Here's the quirky tidbit. Some guilds mark their candles with tiny hidden seals, like wax tattoos, to prove authenticity. Imagine a maker giggling as he stamps a secret smiley. You chuckle, picturing a candle winking at a buyer. The night's still, save for the faint shuffle of feet, and you're starting to get why this feels so calming. It's not just craft, it's a legacy locked in light. Historians still argue whether these secrets boosted quality or just fueled rivalry. You don't care much. You're too busy sensing the mystery, wondering what else they hid.